What's up, guys? It's John Dominique, the Soul Proponent. Today, I want to talk a little bit about how to do a search. This is a practice of inquiry, of asking questions. But we're not coming from a place of the need to seek answers. This is a subtle distinction between the usual conventional way of looking and searching, trying to find something. That's the usual mode of operation of the ego identity. It's wanting to grasp, it's trying to find some type of balance, it's trying to find homeostasis, it's trying to find a foundation, it's trying to find something it can fixate on, and that's normal. That's our normal way of operation. Like when we're children, when we're young, when we're embryos in the womb, in our mother's womb, we've got this umbilical cord, and that umbilical cord, like physically, it has ingrained us on an unconscious level to the idea that we have to get what we're seeking from outside of us. If you pay attention to yourself, you can see how pervasive, how invasive, how ingrained this idea is that we have to get what we're looking for from outside of ourselves. That's the usual operation. That's the way we've unconsciously been operating all of our lives. A lot of times we don't even know that's a thing. But if we look at every situation of our lives and see how dissatisfied we are, we can see it doesn't work. But it doesn't stop us from continuing to try, because it's been such a condition, it's been so conditioned in us from our society, from our upbringing, from the time we're born with the umbilical cord, that we don't know any better. So what I want to say is that we're going to shift our way of thinking, not into reaching and grasping. When we're doing a search, we're going to have the attitude of giving. It's not like we're going to take something. We're actually going to give. We're going to give to the universe. We're going to give up our need to grab and reach and take. That's one sacrifice we're going to have to make on this path. So we're not trying to get anything when we're doing a search. We're going to give. And the way we're going to give is that we're going to give a question. We're not going to try to get answers. We're going to give questions. And the attitude and the mentality we have to come from is that we don't know what the answers is going to be. We don't know what's going to be there. We're not going to assume that we know anything, any of the answers, or what the answer should look like. And this is a twist, turning things upside down and backwards and inside out, because usually, the conventional way of the ego is trying to get answers. No, we're going to give questions is what we're going to give. So I'm going to give an example using what I said earlier about satisfaction, like we're never satisfied. So what we can do, for example, is we're trying to figure out, well, why aren't we ever satisfied? Even if, we have ingrained in us this pattern to reach and grab, try to grasp, try to get, looking, searching. We can see that that doesn't solve anything. We're still always looking eventually. Like, okay, so maybe we might get something and it might last for a while, that we might be satisfied for a little bit, but then it doesn't last. So we need to start questioning and see why. What's going on with this? Most people don't think about this. Most people just continue on their lives thinking that if they just try harder to reach and grab for what they want, it'll work out, but it never does. You can check for yourself in your own experience and see this. So there comes a point where we have to question this and figure out what's going on. Why is this happening? So that's where we start. We start in our own experience. We start to ask questions. Well, why does it seem like I'm never satisfied? And you can see that there's some type of insatiability there. And we're like, well, what's that about? Well, first of all, we can go back a little bit first and say, well, what is satisfaction? What defines satisfaction for us? And most people have this idea that satisfaction it comes from outside us. If you look at it deep enough, you can see, oh, well, when I get this bar of gold, I'll be satisfied. When I get a diploma, I'll be satisfied. The conditions, the situations, we have these ideas that have to be met, these criteria that we think will give us satisfaction. And it always comes from a situation outside of ourselves or objects outside of ourselves, things that might not even be in our control. And even when we do get these conditions met, these criteria, these terms and conditions, it doesn't seem to last. So the satisfaction we're looking for, we can see that it doesn't last. This is not the true version. There must be a true version of satisfaction. This is the false version because it doesn't last. The true version of satisfaction is unconditional. It's always there. And we have to see what's in the way. We have to see the blocks. We have to remove the blocks. And we can do that by asking questions. Well, what's in the way? Why can't I get the feeling of satisfaction to last? What is satisfaction? What defines satisfaction for me? If we look at it closely, we can see it doesn't come from material objects. It doesn't come from chasing. It doesn't come from searching, finding a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow type of thing. If we look deeply enough into it, we can see the satisfaction is inherent. It's already inside of us. It's built into our hearts, into our souls, into our psyches. It's embedded in our consciousness. There's a treasury that we're carrying around in ourselves without our awareness, without our knowledge. So when we were children, we were very close to this, quote unquote, this kingdom, this treasury. And we were naturally happy for no reason. There was a joy, and it was unconditional. It's not like, oh, XYZ has to happen and then we'll be happy, and then we're playful and we're delighted and we're satisfied. Children, they're in a state of almost continuous satisfaction without even having to try to do anything. And after they become adults, after the usual civilization and domestication processes, that state becomes further and further, and then when we become an adult, it's gone, and we're living our lives accumulating dissatisfaction. And that slowly, dissatisfaction, it accumulates slowly. And we live our lives, in order to go on, we have to put that dissatisfaction out of our minds and put it away, and it builds under the rug, and it becomes unmanageable after a while. But I'm digressing a little bit. So we ask questions, the art of questioning. This is an art and a science. So how to do a search involves asking, well, when did I lose this satisfaction that I had when I was a child? How did this happen? It's not going to be one answer. It's going to be multiple answers usually. And we're going to have to kind of backtrack in our lives and see the areas. And it's almost like reliving some of the experiences we had when we were younger that wounded us. We're going to relive those wounds multiple times. It's going to be painful. But we have to learn something each time we experience that wound, because it's a teacher. It's there to show us something. We lost something, and we have to recover it. And every time, we had some type of traumatic experience in our childhood, we have to see and understand that experience from multiple angles fully, and to continue to see that, because these wounds don't go away when we see them and we understand them. They're still there. We could still learn from them. There's There's lessons to be learned there. There's morals to the story. But we ask questions. We say, well, what's the moral to the story? What do I need to learn? Why do I keep coming back to this place of dissatisfaction? What do I need to see? We have to be sincere in our hearts. We have to ask the universe for assistance. We have to have a heart of purity. This is not putting an intention into the world saying, I want to understand myself and experience my wounds so I can heal and I can be a better person. It's not self-improvement. It's not a matter of trying to get better, trying to get to God, trying to get to heaven, and all of this. That'll happen as a side effect, but we can't look for it. We can't have the intention of searching and grabbing. So we have to see how easily we can slip down the slope of reaching and grabbing and searching and finding. We have to check ourselves all the time. That attitude is always there. We have to just be aware that it's there. If that's the attitude we have, okay, so be it. We don't have to reject it. But we have to see that the attitude we need is love for the truth. If we want anything other besides love for the truth, then we're going to have issues. It's going to make things worse. It's going to backfire. So we have to come from a heart of honesty, radical honesty. Ask questions. What is satisfaction for me? Where does it come from? What is its source? Why is it here? Why am I not satisfied? What blocks me from feeling satisfaction all the time? Is satisfaction always there? Is that my natural state? If it is, then why can't I feel it without having a new pair of shoes, for instance? We have to ask questions and continually ask questions, ask the universe to help us ask more questions. Now, after we do this, do a series of questions, I don't know, for 5 minutes or so and see what comes up. You can even just do one question and say, if you want to know what satisfaction is, you ask that question once. Say, what is satisfaction for me? And answer that question multiple times. So for example, I say, well, what is satisfaction for me? Well, satisfaction for me is feeling content and peace and tranquility. You can ask again, okay, well, what is satisfaction for me? Well, satisfaction for me is feeling rested, feeling at ease. Okay, and then you say, well, what is satisfaction for me? And you answer that question multiple times for 5, 10, 15 minutes maybe. And you can go on as long as you want with that and with that line of questioning, and you get multiple answers. So the beauty of this is that all those answers are usually, they have some type of truth to them. All right, so you have to be aware of what comes up in your heart. Whatever comes up in your consciousness when you answer those questions is going to be the answer. But you're not going to be looking for that answer. You're not going to be holding on to that answer. You're not going to be saying, oh, that's it. That's the end of it. That's just the beginning, to be honest with you. So we answer those questions and allow more questions to come up and answer those questions. And the spirit of this is that when we're done with that, with the line of questioning, we're going to exhaust all the answers we can come up with in our minds, and there's going to be emptiness and peace after that, because we're going to be exhausted, and there's going to be a gap in our thoughts, in our mind, in our hearts, in our inner activity, in the busyness of our inner world, and we're going to allow the answers to come up through those gaps. This might not happen right away the first time you try it. It takes practice. This is an ongoing, lifelong pursuit. The answers might come a few weeks later, a few months later. You might not even realize the answer, but there'll be an instance where something will happen, will show it to you, and you'll be like, wait a minute, I asked this question a few weeks ago, and this is the answer, and somehow the answer will come to you in your everyday life. The universe will show you. You have to be sincere with this, and you have to pay attention. You have to be very aware and conscious. It's very subtle. But the more you practice, the more you can see, the more answers you'll get. The universe will show them to you. And again, we're not assuming that we know the answers. The answers are going to come to us from a higher power, from some place outside of ourselves. We're going to continue to live our lives as normal, and then the answers will come to us just as in our everyday life, in a gap when we're not thinking. If we're paying attention, we can see. So what's happening is the answers are being revealed to us. The answers are already there. But what's in the way is our mentality, is our attitude, our attachments, our fixations, this identity of who we think we are. Now, this identity is not something to be bashed. It's not something to get rid of. It's not something to hate. It's not something to go to war with. We have to be very gentle with it. This is a part of us that we've taken very seriously, that we've invested so much of our time and energy into. You can't just disregard it in one. And we need to have this identity to live our lives. So it's not something to be gotten rid of. Like, people get the wrong idea about it. But I'm digressing a little bit. What I'm saying is, how to do a search involves questioning. And one way we do that is by asking one question multiple times and answering it multiple times in multiple ways. So we're building we're seeing multiple angles of truth. We're seeing, and the way the truth continues on forever, and we can get more answers. The answers don't ever stop, really, but we have to give ourselves a break. After 5 minutes, maybe we can start with 1 minute and answer that question. And then maybe the next day, answer that question for 3 minutes. And then maybe the next day, answer it for 5 minutes, and maybe go to the next question the next time. And, we're getting multiple answers, and that's building on the foundation of truth, because truth has multiple angles. It's not just one way to see things. And that's where the identity gets stuck. And that's one of the blocks. The identity is fixated on only one answer. This is the only way it can be. It thinks it knows what's best. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's a block to doing a search sincerely in our hearts. And we have to be honest about this. Like I said, we have to be very sincere. We can't fool the truth. Truth is too smart. We think sometimes we can do this kind of work with the attitude, or usual attitude, of wanting to reach and grab. That's not it. That umbilical cord goes deep. We don't even know. It's unconscious. Like, nobody goes around thinking their life, living their lives thinking, oh, I'm trying to, get all these circumstances fulfilled because I was living with an umbilical cord, and that's the only way I can get what I need, is looking outside of ourselves. Nobody thinks that. The path is inward. It's entirely internal. So it's the reverse of what we've been accustomed to. So we're looking for looking for answers inside of ourselves. And a lot of times, we can see we're searching for a new search. Sometimes we'll get an answer and we'll say, okay, well, what's next? And we have to question that too. Well, why do we want to know what's next? What is time? Where does time come from? Is it just a concept? Is it an idea? It's subjective. There's no physical object in reality that corresponds to time. So time must be something. Okay, so I'm going in another direction here, but that's another line of questioning that we have to confront, because the path is stepping into a world of timelessness. That's a whole nother universe, a whole nother dimension of reality that we don't know exists, most of us. But that's a whole nother inquiry. We have to ask questions about that too. So there's a way to ask questions, how to do a search. It's an inquiry into where we are right now in the present moment. We're not going to think about, well, how do I get to X, Y, Z? How do I get satisfaction? So if we think, now we can answer that question, but we have to come from an attitude. Again, we have to search ourselves and say, well, why are we asking that question? What are we trying to get? What are we trying to obtain? And we have to be honest and sincere with ourselves and see that attitude is going to be a block. Now, you can check for yourself. I'm not here to tell people how things are, or You know, I want people to question me and say, how does he know these things? You know, don't just assume that I know what I'm talking about. You have to go and check for yourself. That's the beauty of the path, of the spiritual path, is that it's predictable, it's repeatable, and we can check for ourselves. We have to do this kind of work for ourselves to see what it's all about. So how to do a search is more coming from a heart of giving up, of sacrificing the need to reach or grab to find anything. We eventually, you know, we come to the point where we're just here, we're present, we're aware, we're awake. And the awakening is going to clear out all the blocks, all these obstacles that the identity has placed in. There's a lot of them. It takes years of practice. It's not, and what happens is it comes in waves and spurts. Like you might do it for a little bit, and you might make some progress the first couple times you do it, and then there's no progress made. And the next couple times you're frustrated and there's irritations. And we have to understand that those irritations, you know, you're going the right way when you feel irritated, you hate it, you don't want to do this work anymore. There's no point to it. You feel hopeless about it. Those irritations are fuel for you to build your consciousness and your awareness, and to cultivate your own grounds. We're fertilizing your soil, right? You're the good have to become the good ground where the seeds can sprout. That's what it's like. So it's an art and a science. Asking questions, how to do a search, is an important part of the spiritual path. John Dominique, the Soul Component.